The gods tried to make you 3 times. Twice they looked at what they had built and they destroyed it. The first people came apart in water. Their faces slid off. They could speak, but the words meant nothing at all. So the gods started again and carved humanity out of wood. And the wooden people worked. They stood. They talked. They filled the whole earth. But there was nothing inside them. They never once looked up. They never once said thank you. So the sky opened, and a black rain came down, thick as resin. And then something stranger happened. The grinding stones rose up against them, the cooking pots, the dogs, and the few who escaped ran screaming into the forest. We call them monkeys. This is not some fringe legend. It is the opening of the Popol Vuh, the sacred book of the Quiche Maya, one of the oldest creation stories to survive in the Americas, written down around 1550, copied by a friar, very nearly lost, and it belongs to a people who are still here. Over 6 million Maya are alive today, speaking more than 28 living languages. One warning before we begin. The Maya are not the Aztecs. Different languages, different gods, different centuries, a different country. The Maya were carving cities out of limestone for 1,000 years before the Aztec Empire existed at all. By the end of this, you will understand why the gods had to fail twice before they could make you, and what they finally reached for on the 3rd attempt when nothing else had worked. It starts in the dark. There is no earth yet, only sky above and sea below. And in that water lie the makers. Tepeu and Cucumats, a serpent robed in green quetzal feathers. Above them waits Heart of Sky. He is also called Huracan, one leg, the thunderbolt, 3 faces in a single god. They come together and they talk. They do not build the world with their hands. They think it, and then they say it out loud. The word is earth, and the earth rises out of the sea all at once, the way mist lifts off a lake at dawn. Mountains stand up out of the water, valleys open. The makers are pleased, but the world is beautiful and completely silent. Nobody is saying their names. So they fill the forest. Deer, birds, jaguars, snakes, each is given a home. Then the makers give them the one instruction that matters. Speak, say our names, say who made you. And the animals open their mouths. Some squawk, some howl, not one says a name. That is the whole failure. Beauty was never the point, memory was. So the animals are not destroyed, only demoted. Your flesh will be eaten, the makers say. Now they try to build something shaped like themselves. They reach into the mud and shape a body out of wet earth. It stands up. It even speaks. But it will not hold. The face is lopsided. There are no bones in it. It stares in one direction forever. And when water touches it, it dissolves. It could talk, but it had no mind. So the makers pulled it down. Attempt 1 at a human being, gone. Which brings the gods to something gods almost never do. They ask for help. They call in the oldest pair alive, Xbalanque and Xmucon, the daykeeper and the dawnbringer. They read the days exactly the way Maya daykeepers still read them in Guatemala this morning. They cast red coral seeds and grains of maize. They count them out and ask the question, and the seeds answer. Wood, they say. Carve people out of wood. The diviners have just made a terrible mistake. The men are carved from the wood of the coral tree. The women are made from the soft pith of a reed. They come out looking like people. They stand, they walk, they marry and have children and spread across the whole earth. From the outside, this looks like success. Look inside, and the horror begins. There is nothing in them, no blood, no sweat. Their minds have no floor. They never lift their heads to heart of sky. They never say his name. They talk all day and they say nothing. So the flood comes. A heavy black resin pours out of the sky and does not stop. Things come out of the dark to finish the work. But the strangest part of that judgment is not the monsters. It is the household objects. Because the grinding stones speak. Every day you ground on our faces, they say. Now we will grind you. The pots speak. You burned us. The dogs speak. You beat us. Their own possessions rise and drive them out of their houses. The revenge of everything they used and never thanked. The survivors run for the trees. That is why the Popol Vuh says, a monkey looks so uncomfortably like a man. A failed humanity still hanging in the branches. Now the book stops the creation story mid-sentence and tells you about a bird. Because the world still has a problem. There is no sun. No moon, no true light, just a gray half-dark, and into it struts Seven Macaw, an enormous glittering bird, his teeth set with jewels. I am the sun, he announces. I am the moon. I am the light of the world. He is not. He is only a bird with expensive teeth. Two young hunters shoot him in the jaw, return disguised as healers, and pull his jeweled teeth. Stripped of his shine, he is nothing. False light goes down before real light rises. But who were those two hunters? For that, we go back a generation, to their father, and to a game of ball. Xbalanque and Xbalanque had two sons, one Hunahpu and Seven Hunahpu, and one Hunahpu already had two sons of his own, one monkey and one artisan. Flautists, singers, carvers, writers, but the brothers themselves did nothing whatsoever. They played ball, every day, all day. The Maya ball game was never just a sport. A heavy rubber ball struck with the hip kept off the ground. It was ritual. Their court was a slot cut into the earth, and the earth was thin there, and they were loud. The pounding went down through the stone into the ears of the dead. Xibalba, the place of fright, and its lords did not appreciate the racket directly above their heads. Two of them sat at the top, one death and seven death. Beneath them 10 more lords, and every one of them is a disease. Pus master, jaundice master, bone staff, bloody teeth. These are not names, they are symptoms. This underworld is not a prison for the wicked. It is the committee that runs illness. 4 owls come up through the ground with a summons. Come down, play ball with us, bring your gear, and the brothers go. They cross a river of scorpions, then a river of blood, then a river of pus. They cross all 3 unharmed. Then a crossroads, 4 roads, red, white, yellow, and black. And the black road speaks to them, come this way, so they take it. In the council chamber the lords sit in a row, and the brothers greet each one politely. But most of them are dummies. Carved wooden mannequins propped up in the seats, and Xibalba laughs until it aches. Then they are offered a bench. It is a cooking stone, glowing hot. They sit, and they leap up burned. Then comes the last trial. Dark house. A lit torch and 2 cigars. Keep them burning all night and hand them back whole. It is not a test. It is impossible. By morning the torch is ash. The brothers have failed, and Xibalba takes what it says it is owed. They are put to death and buried beneath the ball court. But the lords keep one thing. They take one Hunahpu's head, and they hang it in a dead calabash tree. That tree has never fruited, and the moment the head touches the branch, it explodes into gourds, golden fruit, overnight. And among all those round hanging fruits, you cannot tell which one is him. The lords are frightened by what they have made. Nobody goes near that tree, they order. Nobody touches that fruit, which means naturally that somebody does. Her name is Blood Moon, Xquick, and she is the daughter of a Xibalban lord, and curiosity is the engine of this entire book. She stands alone under the branches, and a voice out of the tree speaks. Do you really want this? It is only a skull. She says yes, and reaches up her right hand, and the skull spits into her open palm. Then it explains itself. My saliva, it says, is my descendant. A father does not vanish when he dies. His face is not extinguished. He hands it on. That is the theology of the whole book in a single line. A person is not a body. A person is something that continues. She goes home pregnant, and no one can name a father. Her own father, blood-gatherer, condemns her to death. He hands the owls a bowl. Bring me her heart in this. And the owls carry her out into the world, but they cannot do it. Instead, they cut red sap from a croton tree. It thickens in the bowl and looks exactly like a heart. The lords sniff it and are satisfied. And Blood Moon walks out of the underworld, alive. She goes to the one house that might take her in, the house of Xmucain, her dead husband's mother. And the grandmother does not believe a word of it. My sons are dead, she says. Prove it. Bring me a net of maize. There is one clump of corn in that garden. She pulls the silk from a single ear and prays. The net comes back so heavy it dents the ground. The corn multiplied. And so Hunahpu and Xbalanque are born, the hero twins, and their own family cannot stand them. Their half-brothers, one monkey and one artisan, are the great artists of the house. They are also jealous and cruel. They make the baby sleep on an anthill. They eat first. They take the twins' food, and the twins wait. Then they answer. They invite their brothers to climb a tree after some birds. The tree grows and will not let them down. They come down as monkeys. Art without kindness, given a tail. And yet the Maya still prayed to them. Painters, scribes, and flute players called on one monkey and one artisan. Talent survives disgrace. With the house quiet at last, the twins find what was hidden from them. Their father's ball gear, tucked up under the roof. The grandmother had hidden it there for years. She knew what that game costs. She had already lost 2 sons to it. They take it down anyway. They clear their father's court. And they begin to play, loudly, and far below the lords lift their heads. The summons comes up a second time. But this generation is different. These 2 are not going down there to lose. They send the mosquito ahead of them. A mosquito named Zan down the black road into the council chamber. It bites the seated lords. The wooden dummies feel nothing. The living ones yelp. And when one yelps, another says his name. What's wrong, one death? What bit you, Puss Master? The mosquito listens to every name in the room. And that is how the twins walk in already knowing exactly who everyone is. They greet each lord by name, skipping the mannequins without a glance. This time, Xibalba is not laughing, and the trials begin. Dark house, total blackness, a torch and 2 cigars. Burn them all night, return them whole in the morning. The same trap that killed their father. The twins do not solve it honestly. They solve it with a forgery. They fix a red macaw feather to the torch so it looks like flame, and a firefly to each cigar tip. By dawn, nothing has burned. Razor house. The blades move on their own. The twins do not fight them. Be still, they say, all the flesh of the animals will be yours, and the knives lie down. Cold house, hail, and a cold that stops the blood. The twins shut it out, sit through the night, and are not frozen. Jaguar house, starving cats, wall to wall. The twins scatter bones, and the jaguars fight each other over the bones instead. Firehouse, nothing but flame. At dawn, the twins walk out of it merely scorched, and Xibalba is running out of ideas. And then Bat House. It is full of snatch bats, shrieking, wheeling, blades on their wings. The twins hide inside their own blowguns. The night goes quiet, too quiet, and Hunahpu makes one mistake. He puts his head out to see whether the dawn has come. A shadow crosses him, and Kamazots, the death bat, takes his head. By morning it hangs above the ball court. Today it will be the ball. Xbalanque does not panic. He calls in the animals. A turtle takes the shape of his brother's head and takes his place. The game starts. Xbalanque kicks the ball hard out of the court, and a rabbit, hidden in the grass, bolts. The lords chase it. In those few seconds, the swap is quietly undone, and Hunahpu is whole again. They win. But the twins know how this ends. Xibalba will never let them walk out alive. So they choose the manner of their own deaths. They find two seers and hand them a script. Tell the lords to grind our bones and pour them into the river. Then the twins walk to the oven, take each other's hands, and jump into the fire. Xibalba has finally won. The lords do exactly as the seers advise. The bones are ground on a stone, and the meal is poured into the water. But the meal does not wash away. It settles, and 5 days later, 2 catfish are swimming in that river. And the day after that, 2 ragged dancers appear in Xibalba. Nobody knows them. They perform in the poorest corners of the underworld. Their act is impossible. They burn a house to the ground, and it stands again. They kill a dog, and the dog gets up. They take a man apart and put him back together, and he laughs, and word of it climbs all the way to the throne. 1 death and 7 deaths send for them. Do it here, they order. Do the one where you kill someone and bring him back. The dancers oblige. They perform the miracle on each other, and both come back whole, and the lords of death lose all restraint. Do it to me, says one death, do it to me, and so they do, and they do not bring him back. 7 death begins to beg. He does not want the miracle now. He only wants to live. He is not spared. The rest of the lords break and run. Xibalba, in a single afternoon, surrenders to 2 boys in rags. Now notice what the twins do not do. They do not abolish death. They put it in its place, and they set its wages. You will not receive the great offerings anymore. They rule. You get cracked pottery, tree sap, and nothing else. Then they dig up their father in the ball court and try to restore him. They ask him to name his own face, and he cannot. Some things do not come back. So they leave him there and promise him something instead. You will be prayed to. You will be called on first. And then the twins climb straight up out of the world. One rises as the sun, the other as the moon. And only now can the gods make a human being. Remember the makers, still standing over an empty world with 2 failures behind them, mud and wood. The dawn is coming. They need someone awake when it arrives, someone to see it and to say a name. And the answer, when it comes, is not some secret of the heavens. It is food. It is a mountain full of food. A cat, a coyote, a parrot, and a crow bring the news. There is a place called Paxil and Kyala, a mountain packed with yellow corn and white corn. cacao, honey, fruit. The place is bursting with it. Xmucane, the grandmother, takes that corn and grinds it. 9 times she passes it over the stone, and the water she rinses her hands in, that rich, greasy water, becomes the fat and the muscle of human arms. Out of maize dough, the gods make 4 men: Jaguar Quitse, Jaguar Night, not right now, and Dark Jaguar. And these ones work. They speak, they think, they give thanks immediately without being asked. But there is a problem. It is not a defect. It is the opposite. Their eyesight is too good. They see everything, through mountains, to the corners of the sky. The gods look at what they have built, and they are alarmed. Are these our creatures, they ask, or are these gods? So Heart of Sky breathes a fog onto their eyes, the way breath fogs a mirror, and the world goes soft at the edges. They can still see what is close. They can no longer see everything. And that, says the Popol Vuh, is you. A creature made of corn, clear-sighted but only nearby, grateful but limited, dimmed on purpose so as not to be a god. Which means maize is not a crop. It is a relative. In Maya communities today, corn is still treated as holy. So that is the making of the world. Now meet the gods who run it, because the Popol Vuh is not the whole story. The Maya were never one nation. Dozens of city-states, hundreds of years, many languages. The gods change name as you travel. At the top sits Itzamna, an ancient god of the sky drawn as an old man with a long nose and no teeth. He is creator, healer, and patron of the scribes. Tradition credits him with giving the Maya writing itself. And Maya writing was real writing, not pictures, a full script that recorded a spoken language, sound by sound. Only 4 Maya books survived the Spanish burnings. 4. Then the serpent robed in feathers. In Yucatan they call him kukulkan, among the Quiches, cucumats, and yes, the Aztecs had one too. Quetzalcoatl. But be careful here, because people get this badly wrong. Kukulkan is not Quetzalcoatl with a Maya accent. They are cousins, not the same god. Related, parallel, separate. The feathered serpent is an ancient Mesoamerican idea, shared and reshaped by many peoples. Sky and earth in one body. The bird that flies, joined to the snake that crawls. Wisdom tied to the ground. At Chichen Itza they built him a pyramid so precise that twice a year, at the equinox, the sun does the rest. The stepped corners throw a rippling shadow down the northern staircase, and it meets a carved stone serpent head at the base, a snake of light and shadow descending the stairs. Built by people with no metal tools, no wheel, and no telescope. Then Chaac, the rain god, a long curling snout and a stone axe, which he swings at the clouds. Every lightning strike is that axe landing, and there is not one shock, but 4, one for each direction. In a land with almost no rivers, he is not a minor god, he is survival. Maya farmers still hold the chaac ceremony in the Yucatan today, calling for rain when the fields go dry. The death god goes by many names. Puch, Yum Kimil, a skeleton hung with bells. He rules an underworld called Metnal. And Metnal is not Xibalba. Xibalba belongs to the Quiches of the highlands, Metnal to the Yucatec of the lowlands. 2 peoples, 2 underworlds. And then Ixchel, who is very often called the Maya moon goddess. She is worth being careful about. The sources show an aged goddess with jaguar ears and a serpent in her hair, a weaver, a healer, a midwife. The moon label was attached to her by early scholars, and much of the recent work says that was a mistake. The real Ixchel presided over childbirth and medicine. Women sailed to the island of Cozumel just to ask her about their marriages. Which brings us to the thing everyone asks about the Maya: the blood. Yes, the Maya practiced human sacrifice. It is carved on their monuments and dredged out of their sacred wells. But the picture is not the one pop culture sells you. The commonest offering was not a stranger's heart. It was the king's own blood. Rulers pierced their own tongues and skin with stingray spines. They let the blood fall onto bark paper and burned it. The smoke was the message. Power owes a debt, and it pays first. Captured enemy kings were killed. Victims were thrown into the sacred well at Chichen Itza. That is real, and it was terrible. It was also not constant, not casual, and not the whole of their religion. It was rare, formal, and heavy with meaning. And now the last piece. The thing everybody thinks they know about the Maya: time. Because more than temples, more than jade, this civilization was obsessed with counting the days. They ran 2 calendars at once, a sacred round of 260 days and a solar year of 365. The 2 wheels turn against each other and only line up again after 52 years. That is a calendar round. Beneath both, they ran the long count, a running total of every single day since creation, ticking upward without a break. They also worked out the zero, independently, centuries before Europe would accept the idea at all. So, December the 21st, 2012, you remember, the end of the Maya calendar, the end of the world. Here is the truth, and it is boring, and you should hear it anyway. Nothing in the Maya sources says that. What happened is that the long count completed its 13th baktun. A baktun is about 394 years. It was an odometer rolling over, a big, round, ceremonial number, like a millennium, a birthday with a lot of zeros on it. And we know it was not an ending, because the Maya themselves kept writing dates that fall long after it. At Palenque, one reaches the year 4772. They were calmly scheduling an anniversary for their king almost 3,000 years after the world was supposedly going to end. Only one known inscription even mentions the 13th baktun in any detail. A broken monument at Tortuguero. It mentions a god descending and nothing else. There is no Maya apocalypse. There never was. The apocalypse was ours. We invented it, sold books about it, and then filmed it. And Maya people said so, loudly, at the time. Their own spokesman called it a change of cycle, a new count, not a grave. Which is the deepest thing about the way the Maya thought. Time does not run out. Time turns over. The wooden people ended and the corn people began. Xibalba fell and the sun rose. The maize is cut and the maize comes back. That is the shape of it. Not a straight line running toward a final judgment. A wheel, a cycle, a harvest. And the Maya did not end either. That is the last correction, and it is the one that matters most. The great southern cities were abandoned over 1,000 years ago. Drought, war, and exhaustion emptied them. But the people did not vanish. They moved. They rebuilt. The last independent Maya kingdom held out against Spain until 1697. And their descendants are farming, weaving, teaching, and counting the sacred days across Guatemala, Mexico, Belize, and Honduras right now. The Popol Vuh is not a dead book. It is a living scripture in languages that people still speak at home. 3 attempts, mud that dissolved, wood that could not remember, and corn which could. 2 boys who walked into the house of death learned everybody's name and walked back out as the sun and the moon.